We're drafting the greatest Eagles of all time.
My pick was a guy drafted in 1999, Donovan McNabb. He,
What?
yeah,
Your number one Eagle of all time?
number one Eagle of all time. Okay, he never won the Super Bowl with them. But here's the thing, though. You haven't seen a generational run like this. Donovan McNabb went to 5 NFC championship games with the Eagles, including one Super Bowl. Give me Donovan McNabb. Quarterback's the most important position. I love McNabb. He McNabbed my heart, and he's the number one overall pick.
That's
He
insane.
McNabbed your
How is he
heart.
your number one?
Number one. I love
I
McNabb.
try to generally
All
be
right.
positive,
Owen,
but
Just
wow, that was
just
crazy. What a start.
yeah.
I love Donovan McNabb.
Okay. With the number 2 pick, I get Reggie White, the all-time Eagles sacks leader, the minister of defense, arguably the greatest defensive lineman of all time, Reggie White. That's the easiest pick I've ever made.
Nah, not important. Not as important as the QB
Yeah.
position.
And I think this guy is also above Donovan McNabb. I'm going to take, the greatest Eagles safety of all time, arguably one of the greatest safeties of all time, Brian Dawkins. And I didn't think he was going to fall to me. And I'm so thankful that he did, because then I can take the wraparound and take number 2, or the greatest Eagles center of all time, and potentially one of the greatest centers of all time, my favorite player of all time, the guy that rests in my heart for all of eternity, right behind Jesus, of course. Jesus is number 1, without a doubt.
Good pick.
Jason Kelce. And I don't think I missed a beat on that pick right there.
I think that if you really love Jason Kelce, you would have taken him before Brian Dawkins, but okay.
You know what? I could have done that. Because I had the wraparound. I was going to get B-Dawk anyway. So.
Too late now. So you don't really love him, I guess.
You're right.
But, whatever. It's fine. Okay, so I hate to do this to you, Luke, but you just said how your top 2 favorite players, Jason Kelce, number 1. I'm going to take your second favorite Eagle, Fletcher Cox. So I've solidified defensive line, Reggie White, Fletcher Cox, arguably the 2 greatest Eagles defensive linemen ever. Fletcher obviously won the Super Bowl with the Eagles, was with them his whole career. I think having a career-long Eagle is huge. So Fletcher Cox.
Hey, I respect your picks, right? But they're not the most important position. Give me another quarterback. Randall Cunningham, he put together a great season. He's a great Eagles player. He went 15-1 with the Eagles. I mean, imagine if Jalen Hurts did that this year, went 16-1 with the Eagles, we would, oh my goodness, that's just crazy. Randall Cunningham, he's just an absolutely stud Eagles QB. I want all the Eagles QBs here, okay?
Are you going to take a third?
Give me Nick Foles.
Oh my word, he's just taking all the quarterbacks.
Nick Foles. Quarterback is the most important position.
I mean, take the Super Bowl winning one.
You have to understand, okay, that QB, without a good QB, your team is incomplete. You can have a great defensive tackle, but if your offense doesn't do anything, you can't win the game, okay?
This is insane.
Give me Nick Foles, the guy who led the underdog Eagles to a championship game. And I mean, what else can I say? Nick Foles is legendary in the city of Philadelphia.
Wow, what a pick. I think that taking Randall Cunningham at the end of the second round is way better than Donovan McNabb number 1 overall. But anyway, wow. Okay, so now, Luke, do we take quarterbacks? Parker just took like the top 3, so now I feel like we're stuck. We can't have a quarterback because then we're reaching if we go for the 4th quarterback.
It's all part of the play.
I feel like those 3 were the only 3 that were on my board. So Parker's put us in an interesting spot here. I'm going to go with...
I'm not worried.
The greatest tight end in Eagles history, Zach Ertz. Caught a crucial fourth down catch to keep their drive alive in the Super Bowl. And then he catches the Super Bowl winning touchdown. He's an amazing Eagle all-timer. Unfortunately, he didn't play for them his whole career, but Zach Ertz is one of the greatest Eagles of all time.
Yeah, that's a great pick, Owen. I love that. Zach Ertz, another one of my personal favorite Eagles. Absolutely love Zach Ertz. And I'm going to go to another guy who I think is not only one of the best Eagles to play his position, but also just one of the best that we've seen do it in a very long time, and that is Lane Johnson. I think some of the records that he holds is absolutely insane. And I don't know them off the top of my head, but I know that like just the lack of pressures that he allows the defense to get on the quarterback from his side. I mean, it is so extremely evident when he is injured because you see the quarterback getting pressured from that right side or left side, wherever he is, so much more than normal. And
He
so
gave
I
up a
think
sack
he's one of
last
the great.
year, and it was the first one he had given up in like 2 seasons.
Exactly. And I think that says a lot about him. Gotta love Lane Johnson. And then, is this my last pick? Are we only doing 4 picks?
Last pick.
With my last pick, this is a tough one. And I think where I go here is somebody who I never personally get to watch play. Going with wide receiver because I don't have a skill position player on my team yet. Harold Carmichael. I think he was an absolute beast. I mean, this man stood at 6'8", and by the way, the tallest wide receiver to ever play the game of football. 6'8", and on top of that, had a 127 game catch streak, which I don't even know how many seasons that is, but that's a lot of games in a row to catch a ball. And so he had a dominant career with the Eagles. And yeah, greatest wide receiver the Eagles, potentially the greatest wide receiver the Eagles ever saw.
Dang it, Luke. That's who I wanted on the wraparound. That's I'm not happy with you for taking Harold Carmichael because
I'm glad I could help.
He's a Hall of Famer. That's the best case for it because like Fletcher Cox, not a Hall of Famer, probably. Maybe. Zach Ertz, borderline, but like to have a Hall of Famer on your team, to take a Hall of Famer for your 4th pick, absolute steal. So I was trying to do that same thing and couldn't get away.
And I mean, that's 3 on my. I mean, or that's at least 2. Is Brian Dawkins isn't in the Hall of Fame yet? Is he?
He is. Yeah, Brian Dawkins.
Is he now?
Brian Dawkins is in the Hall. Jason Kelce.
I mean, Jason Kelce will be for sure. Carmichael is. I mean, that's 3 right there. 1, 2, 3.
That's 3. 1, 2, 3.
Probably count, Luke.
Yeah. To get a Hall of Famer because I think that's kind of necessary for me at this stage. I know Reggie White, Hall of Famer, obviously, but I'm just gonna go defense heavy. The Eagles have had a lot of great defenders over the years, and arguably the greatest defender the Eagles have ever had is Chuck Bednarik. Real throwback linebacker for the Eagles, but he has one of the most iconic moments where he just laid out a player and then like stood over him. So look that picture up, Chuck Bednarik, just like hit, and it should come up. But yeah, just like one of the original great Eagles.
I love that, Owen. I love that. With my last pick, who impacts the game the most, right?
The quarterback.
It's the quarterback.
Oh my god.
So you know who I'm going? Ron Jaworski.
He went ugly
the 1970s.
Wow. I love that you committed to that.
Ron Jaworski, an absolute stud, back when I wasn't even born yet. I mean, he led them to a Super Bowl in 1978. Was an absolute...
Which they lost.
And 80, yeah, and 82.
Also, which they lost.
But hey, he got them there. Right. And so who impacts winning the most? The QB does. He was a prototypical pocket passer, just could throw absolute missiles back in the 70s and early 80s. And so Ron Jaworski, he was you don't want to miss him type football. And he impacted the game like no other except the other guys I drafted. So just absolute stud. Give me the most important position for my 4 players.
Okay. That dude, what a draft by you. I think you're either gonna win by a ton or lose by a ton. I love it. I love that you went all in on just taking quarterbacks.
Hey, they impact winning the most.
I'm glad.
What a strategy.
I'm glad you committed to the bit too.
Wasn't this greatest Eagles of all time?
It was.
Hey, I mean, the quarterback position, in my opinion, impacts winning the most. So if you want to be the greatest Eagle of all time, you got to impact winning the most.
Did you ever see Reggie White play? I didn't either, but game wrecking talent.
Hey, Donovan McNabb.
At number 1 is insane. So, yeah, comment who you guys think won.
Do you know
draft.
who blocked for Donovan McNabb?
I don't care because he
not Jason Kelsey because he wasn't in the league yet.
Okay.
But
I was like, just that people blocked.
They didn't have the ball though. They didn't run. They didn't throw. Donovan McNabb did.
Sure did. Yeah.